up. Blackness aye. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Scott stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, we have to gather wrong, grab a seat and sit down, pay attention. Education, liberation, we have to stand strong. Ben Scott upon the radio, lively up the program. Everybody call somebody and let them turn and tune and pon the radio and catch the boom song. We boom it up already, we have to boom it up again. Expose and reveal him. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, I do it for the love, him not do it for no money. Straight up, him attack, educating everybody. Big up my friends and big up my family. Turn on the radio, catch the vibes, it's integrity. Straight up, Scott stands for unity. One people, one nation, one destiny. Free up the truth in the air, even the blind can see. The deaf can hear, the dumb can talk, the cripple can walk. Boom. Who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott, who tell the truth? Mark Scott, defend the ghetto youth. Mark Scott, radio station is the fruit. Mark Scott, straight up from the root. Mark Scott.
This is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington Law Firm, located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you, so call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
Mr. Mark, I believe every word of Mr. Shu is saying. I am also afraid of Mr. Shu. Mr. Shu, if you are listening, I don't want anybody to harm you. This is a serious thing. Corruption is big. And we Chinese have to stop that. Been bullied by Jack Dale and other government official to pay bribe. It's big all over Guyana. A Chinese to pay by bribe. Mr. Shu, I hope you to stay strong. Do not. We respect and salute you for your bravery, for coming up and speak against corruption in Guyana. Thank you, Mr. Shu. We appreciate you, Mr. Mark. 马克，我相信每一句苏先生说的话。我现在很担心苏先生。苏先生，如果你在听我。
All right. Hey, guess what? Good evening. My name is Mark Benchap. 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. 10 minutes after 9 o'clock. Good to see all of you guys here on 107.1 FM, at least our Facebook page, and those who are listening to us on other forums and on the ground as well in Guyana. Now, let me ask you guys this. You see the photograph of this guy. Any one of you who will be lucky enough to tell me who this guy is, you'll get what we usually give out a box of, we don't give out food here, just like that, a box of food or whatever. That's for the PPP. But if you can tell me who this guy is, take a good look. Tell me, take a good look. He's not a reggae singer. He's not Major Mackerel. He's not Major Mackerel. You would give Major Mackerel a run for his money in terms of looks, if you do know what I mean. Somebody says coconut outfit guy. All right, so he's from Linden. I must apologize to all Lindeners. I'm not sure if he's an original Lindener or whether he came from somewhere I flatter. Well, not knocking the guys over in IFLAT, but IFLAT University, I don't know. But he's one of the PPP's candidates out there in Linden. He's one of those PPP candidates out there in Linden. That is what he is. A PPP candidate out in Linden. And this is what the PPP is doing. They're making a mockery of local government elections. I repeat, the PPP is making a mockery of local government elections. And that is why you guys have to reject them. I mean, I'm not making a mockery of this guy, but what the PPP is doing is making a mockery of him by presenting him as a candidate. That is what they're doing. They know that this guy, as well as almost 99% of the other candidates that the PPP has, they know that the majority of those candidates for the PPP are jokers. And I feel sorry for this guy. I honestly do. He should just drop out of the race. Drop out of the race. That's what he should do. Drop right out of the race. Where do they find these people from? Sorry. Where do they find these folks from? Seriously. Where do they find these folks from? Only God in heaven knows. Only God in heaven knows. Sorry about that. Only God in heaven knows. Again, all right, look, let's get ready for our program this evening, right? Lots of things I want to talk to you guys about. But if we can just remove this guy from this, remove him from the screen, just remove him. I don't know. I feel sorry for a lot of these guys. Honestly, they jump up and they say money got mech. I don't know what this guy is going to say. I don't know what got mech. If shoes got mech, I don't know what got mech. I don't know what got mech, but this is, oh man, oh gosh, sometimes I don't know if to laugh, if to cry. I just don't know what to do. Can our operator just inform J.R. Crawford that maybe we should have J.R. Crawford to come and speak with us for a few minutes? Let him come on up and speak with us if our operator Lemon can prepare J.R. Crawford and Wayne Caesar We'll get to them shortly. Thank you so much, Lemon. Always busy, always working. Good evening to all of you who are watching our show this evening from wherever you are. If you're watching from Blackbush Polder, Mybe Curie, Les Beholden, Johanna, wherever. And there's another place in Blackbush that we seldomly do not mention here. It's called well, we already said Mybe Curie, right? Les Beholden. Oh gosh, remember all those names, right? There's another name. Maybe when J.R. Crawford gets on, I'll ask J.R. But all the places out there in Blackbush Polder. All right. Hey, before we get down into our series, let's bring to your attention. I want you guys to take a look at this here. That's Priya Manikchan. They're keeping awake. They're spending millions of dollars. And I want to make this point very clear. It is not about the money, because it is taxpayers' money. It is not Priya's money. It is not Irfan Ali's money. But they are parading these folks, and this is not to insult or disrespect these people who are mourning, and some of them are recovering. But yet the PPP, Priya Manikchan, running center stage, putting these people up for photo ops, pretending to show to the world that they care about these people. When in fact, these young students of that Bartika Secondary School who perished in that dorm, Priya Manikchan and the PPP regime weren't concerned about them, weren't concerned about their living conditions, weren't concerned about the fact that they were sleeping 10 of them in a room. They weren't concerned about that. They weren't concerned, especially you, Priya, and Irfan Ali, and the Minister of Local Government. They have two ministers there, Dharamlal and Anand Pasad. Two ministers they got. None of these folks cared about these young people and their relatives and the villages and all. So suddenly they care about them. And Priya Manikchan is parading every day as long as she can get a nice photo up with a fancy flower dress. Take a picture. She's okay with that because that is what this is all about. J.R. Crawford is already in studio with us. The minute I mentioned Priyanshi flower dress, J.R. smile. We can see him in the backstage. And that's what they are about. A photo op. They are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars right now to pretend as though they care. Oh, they care so much for these kids. Oh, they care so much for the family. But when those 19, now 20 kids have died, when they were alive, this very Priya Manikchan, not Manikchan, Manikchan, she didn't give a rat's you know what about these kids. She just didn't. None of them. But oh, the world is now watching. So she wants to insert herself in every photograph, parade these kids, parade their relatives, control them, what they should say from what they shouldn't say. But here is what I want to bring to your attention. And this is going to shock you. Maybe some of you wouldn't be so shocked. This photo here is at Duke Lodge. You're having a wake. It's a wake. It's a wake. Only the PPP could do everything. Suddenly they could do everything. Shame on Priya. Priya and the PPP, they are responsible for these 19 deaths. Because when the girl that they charged, when there were allegations of abuse, not only her, Priya didn't care. Irfan didn't care. Dharmlal didn't care. When some of those little girls, Form 1, Form 2, Form 3, Form 4, Form 5, were going to school pregnant, some of them, Nobody cares or care. Priya Manikchand didn't give a damn. She wasn't concerned. The Ministry of Social Services didn't care. When reports of abuse and neglect and all these manner of things, they weren't concerned about those little girls and their safety and whether some of them, I'm not saying those who may have perished or whatever, but reports of school girls being abused sexually and so forth. They didn't give a rat's you know what about these sort of things. They turned a blind eye on these things. Welfare officers being told of X, Y, and Z. She didn't care. Priya doesn't care. Irfan doesn't care. All they're concerned about is the crocodile tears. That is what they're concerned about. But I want to get your opinions on this here. And this is what's shocking. Somebody said Zambia. Whoever Joseph Edwards is, Joseph Edwards has got to be an Obia man. Got to be an Obia man. Got to be an Obia man. Zambia is the place. How many of you guys know that Zambia is a place, a community in Blackbush Pola? Zambia. A lot of people don't remember Zambia, but thank you, Joseph Edwards. Zambia. I bet Crawford knows that. But no, let's get back to this here before we get Crawford on. He's itching. He's itching to talk, I guess. Now, again, this is where the wake is being kept. Duke Lodge. Y'all know who owns Duke Lodge, right? No, the state doesn't any longer. Taxpayers no longer own Duke Lodge. Duke Lodge was sold to Jerry Govaya. Under Jack Dio's presidency, it was sold to Jerry Govaya, as we would say in Guyana, for next to nothing. But yet Jerry would argue that he paid the market value for it. But here is what now. I'll take a look at this here now. Ministry of Education issued. Let's try to bring J.R. Crawford on. Good evening to you, Mr. Crawford.
Good night, everybody. Good night, Mark. How are you doing?
Quite well, thank you, sir. Now, the Ministry of Education, Guyana, this is what they released. This is what they said about a little over an hour ago. And I quote, "At the request of the families from Macoby, a wake was held at the Duke Lodge, where they are currently being accommodated. We ask that you continue to offer your prayers and support for the families during this difficult time." Now, suddenly, the relatives and the survivors, they want a wake. And they decided that, look, they want this wake to be held at the Duke Lodge, owned by Jerry Govaya. So they can't say that the Duke Lodge is doing this for free, unless Jerry Govaya can come publicly and say with a straight face that this wake is being kept at the Duke Lodge for free. Drinks for free, food and stuff for free. I am saying this not to insult the family members, not to insult. They know that I'm with them. They know that all of us, we support them in terms of this time of grieving and so forth and so on. We are with them, but we're exposing the regime and the politics, the dirty politics that the PPP is playing, and they're using these folks for political points, cheap political points. Now, wait a minute. Take a look at this here. And you're telling me that these people don't have any, the so-called national security advisor doesn't have any shame? His airplanes, his helicopters being used and making hundreds of millions of dollars. And now his place of business. Now, fair enough, Selwyn Peters. Nobody's saying that it should be free. But there is conflict of interest here that Jerry Govaya is profiting from the distress of people. Crawford, let me bring you in. Your take, sir, on what's happening here. Let's start off with this here and a Jerry Govaya Duke Lodge. Again, we're not knocking the wake for the family members, but couldn't they have gotten a bigger and possibly a better place? But Jerry Govaya's place, is it for free?
Mark, having a wake at Duke Lodge is a direct insult to the people of Madhya. The wake should have been kept in Madhya. And we are not supposed to be having these kids, the survivors, parading as TV personalities. It's a traumatic time for these kids. They went through hell. Anybody who has gone through that would know. We are playing politics with an unfortunate situation that should have never happened. On the coastline, you're having with these 40 hours a month jobs. Why didn't we see those same thing in Madhya? And 60 odd kids, at least you must have 10 adults there most of the time. It's impossible for one person to have control. And even if the young lady was supposed to be guilty, had we had measures in place, this would have never happened. We would have seen signs of stress and we could have corralled that before we ended up with 19 dead bodies, or 20 as I'm seeing someone die today. With the brotherhood system that the PPP is flaunting, there is no shame or concern to the regular voters that they're going to use the buddy system to milk the taxpayers for as much as one could get, because we're in a kickback system here. And bringing the people from Madhya out to Duke Lodge on a stressful situation was uncalled for, it's unprofessional, and it should have been in Madhya. That's my point of view.
Your point of view, indeed, because you got to fly these people out of Madhya, out of Macoby, I believe, where they're from, Macoby. They got to be flown. They have to be flown out. Look, how many of them?
Mark,
Airline majority, Jerry Govaya's planes are busy, up and down,
Mark,
up and down.
Mind you,
Good evening, sir.
Mark, mind you that here Ali and Jaguar are talking about this one guy and nonsense, which is total BS. But we are not seeing any effort to include any opposing parties in this time of grief. Is a national incident, yet it's all only on the PPP umbrella. And we are not seeing the PPP being scolded by the international people who are in this country observing this behavior to say, listen, it's a democratic nation and all the other parties must be included. It's a national tragedy. But, you're seeing just PPP nonsense. And, they have the gall to take such a horrible occurrence and turn it into a political ploy. This is what the citizens that going out to vote in a local election should guard against. And these are the things that should be talked about by the opposing political parties to bring people aware of the nature of the beast we are dealing with.
Well, the nature of a very big beast. Mr. Caesar, good evening. We are seeing the PPP continues. They continue to parade these kids around, parade them around for the photo ops and taking advantage of them from a political standpoint. They have no feelings. They have no compassion. They have nothing, absolutely nothing, or no regards to the family members and those who have recovered and are out of the hospital. No time for them to relax and get a little breathing space or nothing. Your take on what we're seeing here now, awake, and as they claim, as they request, at the family request that the Duke Lodge is where that the wake should be kept. Suddenly they know about the Duke Lodge, and they want that their wake be kept at the Duke Lodge. Jerry Govaya flies them in and out of Madja or wherever, in and out, making hundreds of millions of dollars. But yet they never cared about these folks. They never cared about those 20 kids that died. They never cared as to where they were taking a bath or anything of that sort. Before we bring in Mr. Caesar, let's just remind the people where these 20 kids use as a bathroom, what they use for a bathroom. Not in the dorm, but look where.
This is the creek that the dorms children used to use. Now that the dorms is no longer functioning, but this is the creek the children normally come and bathe. This is the water here, they bathe here, they have another one there, they have to dip the water and come here to bathe. Under the APNU administration, we had bathroom here.
So there were bathrooms and so forth and so on, but now there's nothing. You guys saw firsthand. This is not propaganda. Look where the kids took a shower, but now suddenly they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to go overboard to prove that they care about those kids. Where were their compassion when those kids were alive? Mr. Caesar?
Yeah, good evening, Mark. Good evening to all the listeners and viewers. Thank you for having me.
Sure.
My comment on this is that, the PPP, what they're supposed to have done first, they seem to want to do last. And that's just not going to work for people who are smart and understand what's going on. I mean, it's tragic. Look at the living conditions there. That's that's unbelievable. You have female girl children who have to go out and bathe outside in the wide open. I mean, that should not be happening. No wonder sometimes you find that, that people are looking on the people, girl, children, and all these type of things because they're in the wide open there, right? This government, of course, let's go back to the $95 billion. You could see that nothing was allocated to that school. From what the woman was saying earlier, if it wasn't this woman, it was another woman that was saying when the coalition was in power, there were bathroom structures there for the kids to have their baths and everything. Since this new government has come into power, there's no bathrooms there. I don't really understand that. But like I had said before in an earlier show, usually when a government creates something that's good, the next government that comes in behind them usually try to just break away from everything and do their own thing. That's why we cannot move forward as a country. As far as where the wake is being held, Mark, you could see that, the PPP had the families locked up in their possession. They weren't having them exposed to any external, parties or anybody who would have liked to speak to them or interview them. They just had them locked away because, maybe a few would have come out and voiced their displeasure. But look, this government is a very cold government. It doesn't matter whether it's a tragedy or not. They're going to take advantage of it, whether it be financially or another way or another means. This government is all about doing things for their gain. So it doesn't surprise me that Mr. Jerry Govaya, who's a very cold individual, would be flying people back and forth and getting paid by the government. That's just another way to get money to Jerry Govaya. Right? You could use this as an opportunity to get money to Jerry Govaya. He's a very cold individual.
Well, all of the kids and all of the family members are being flown in and out. His planes are just everything is just overcrowded, and now his business place. There's no shame to the game. There is this is direct conflict of interest, and I don't want the crocodile tears and the emotions and some of these PPP folks going to say it's a national tragedy. So here it is that Jerry Govaya is doing such a great job. He might get a national award. That's a good job. Just like what he did at Jonestown as well. Oh yeah, good job at Jonestown, right? But sadly, those folks who died at Jonestown can't say exactly where some of their belongings are. And hey, I'm not insinuating anything. But Mr. Crawford, anything else on this before we move on, and how the PPP regime, they are basically controlling these folks for political purpose, political propaganda, political mileage, and of course local government elections around the corner. That's why they are controlling these family members.
Well, I was hoping that the Amerindian elders would have stepped up and have some more vocal control on the people down from Madia, and stop them from having the kids being paraded, for photo ops and political gains. But I did not see the elders in the Amerindian community coming up against what I deem as a bad taste at this juncture. But as far as Priya, if you look at her behavior over the years, you could see that she has gone on to be someone who has lost touch with the reality, and her consciousness about dealing with minors is, he has clearly shown that she doesn't have the ability to understand how children are treated and what is necessary for them to improve their education and other learning skills. I don't know how she is, she's been placed in that position as Minister of Education, when, as much as she may have been an attorney, that doesn't give you the skill set to be in charge of a learning institution, or the most critical entity in growing our human capital is the education system. And that is supposed to be in the hands of someone who, I would say, are much more knowledgeable, as well as someone who has displayed the attitude in what the standard of society must be for younger generation to become future leaders of tomorrow. I just don't see her being in that position.
Yeah, and a lot of folks just don't see her being in that position. Probably is not a competent lawyer, anyways. But it's Guyana. Let's move on. They have some other stuff that we can talk about. What is your take on this here? What is it? Diverted HIV kits that were paid for, HIV testing kits that were paid for some other country, Kenya, and then it ended up in Guyana through this guy's company, according to the charges. And those HIV kits were actually expired, and they were given to the they were sold to the Ministry of Health for millions upon millions of dollars. And those testing kits, according to the reports, are actually expired. Mr. Caesar, your take, sir.
Well, my take, Mark, this is gonna just align with the government or the installed government of the day. The PPP is all about corruption. They have no credibility. They go out and they deal with the underworld. It doesn't matter who approach them. They have no kind of respect, no kind of class, and this is applied to the people of Guyana, because they have no respect for the people. If you're gonna go out there and order expired HIV kits, and bring in, and that's what you're gonna use for testing your people, it's just like with the COVID vaccine, when they were just giving that vaccine to the people that were not approved by the Sputnik, right? Yeah, it's a Sputnik vaccine that was not approved by the World Health Organization. You see, the Guyanese people, they've just got to wake up. Look, Mark, we've had 3 years. The Guyanese people have had a large enough sample size of what the PPP has to offer, which is absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing at all. Expired HIV kits. The Shadow Minister of Health, Dr. Karen Cummings, and For some of you who don't know, shadow ministers are usually from the opposition. And we have been asking since yesterday for the Shadow Minister of Health, Dr. Karen Cummings, to issue a statement to say something in this regards. We don't know how many persons who have taken HIV test with fake kits or expired kits. It could possibly affect a heck of a lot of people in Guyana, but yet the silence. The Minister of Health has not said anything. We have Leslie Ramsamy, who was very controversial when he was Minister of Health, talking crap about showing the crocodile tears about what happened in Madhya. Crocodile tears again, insulting the family, insulting the victims and their loved ones, insulting the deceased loved ones as well. But Mr. Crawford, your take on these expired HIV kits in Guyana for millions of dollars sold to the Ministry of Health?
This guy should be locked away for life imprisonment. One, for his fraud to bring something that doesn't belong to him, and more importantly, bringing something that's expired in such a nature where the health of the population would be at enormous risk. This guy doesn't care about what happens to the citizens of this country, because these things were going to be used to stem the spread of a life-threatening disease, something that doesn't have a cure. And if you have someone who totally disregard the lives of the nation, he does not need to be in society. He should be locked away for life without parole.
Locked away for life without parole. As we head to another subject indeed. And for those of you who are now joining us, good evening and welcome to Straight Up. My name is Mark Benchap, and my guests this evening are no strangers to you, Wayne Caesar, the accountant, and J.R. Crawford, the businessman. Let us touch on this here now. This young man was actually murdered, according to reports. The police will not admit that he was murdered while in their custody. In other words, so people are of the view that he was murdered by members of the Guyana police force. In this picture here, it tells a lot that he was shot. He was on the ground dying right there. You could see the shock on his face and that crux or whatever it is on his stomach. And at the side, a heck of a lot of blood. A heck of a lot of blood. Anybody, any expert could look at his facial expression and know exactly that he suffered from a shock, tortured, and of course, gunshots. Mr. Caesar, your take on what is now alleged to have been extrajudicial killing by the joint services. Your take, sir.
You hit the hammer right on the head of the nail there, Mark. Extrajudicial killings are back right in front of our face with the international community in full view. It doesn't matter. The PPP are who they are. If we go back and we recall back in the 90s, early 2000s, mid 2000s, with these killings, Mark, witnesses could never be found because the witnesses were executed also. So this is time right there. This guy would have been a very good witness. And what did they do? They shut him up permanently. So you could never get a word out of him. So the Guyana police force is being used as an arm of the PPP to go there and do all the dirty work. It is in clear view. We can see it now. There's no question about it. I'm not saying that they're not good police officers on that force. They're very good police officers on that force, but they're also a lot of rogue officers that's on the force also, and they're doing the bidding for the PPP. This guy here, he was caught. And I'm not going for that. He tried to pull a gun and all this kind, tried to grab a gun off of one of the officers and was shot and killed. Please, get out of here with that Nancy story. Come on.
It is.
He was executed. He was
Nancy's story, indeed,
yes.
executed. Indeed, we see the evidence there. Pool of blood he's lying. in a pool of blood there, his facial expression, that of being shocked that he was handcuffed and executed. That's what this picture tells here. Handcuffed and executed. And to this day, not a phone call to the mother or any relative of this guy. But thankfully, today they learned through a lawyer that that they can go tomorrow to identify the body. That was done through a lawyer. No call, no visit to the family, none whatsoever. Disrespectful, shameful, and classless senior operatives of the Guyana Police Force. Shame on Acting Commissioner of Police Clifton Hicken. When you look at this photo and you read what the Nancy story the police puts out there, Mr. Crawford, let's get your take, sir.
Mark, we, we must understand that the police force is not acting according to the way it should be. When you have a few people who are giving directives to autonomous bodies that are supposed to protect us and to serve the country and to make our society, we will have these situations arising, because if someone wants to do their job, they are going to be reprimanded for following the rules, because somebody at the head who is not supposed to be calling shots in certain bodies, they are the ones who are controlling the officers. Like, I mean, it's a sad situation there for this alleged murder victim. But I was on the upper quarantine yesterday, and I saw a speeding twin steer truck, those very heavy duty truck, doing a little bit over 70 miles per hour. And the traffic rank on the road just turned his back and walked away from that speeding truck, because if he stops that truck, there's nothing he can do, because there's going to be a phone call and there's going to tell him leave the truck. Those things are, very detrimental on our roadways. But just to show you, the police, even if some may want to do the right thing, their hands are tied. Yes, we have a lot of rogue cops because they're going into the force to use their job as a tool against people. Because most of these guys in there that are cowards are going into the force to use their position as a weapon against people. Same with other governmental positions. They're using their job to go against people or carry out ulterior motives. It's a bad thing that's happening to our country, but the citizens have to, like I said, take control of what is going on in the country by not supporting an entity that does not want to be bound by law and order.
Absolutely well said. J.R. Crawford there. Again, for those of you who are now joining us, good evening. As we look at this photograph here of this guy, Neo, that was actually arrested, was in custody of the police. The police claimed that he grabbed a gun, some AK-47, and wanted to shoot and kill them. But before he did that, they actually shot him and killed him. That's what they're saying, that he attempted to, or he grabbed their gun. And they got to be so swift that he grabbed their AK-47, started to shoot at them, but nobody got injured. Oh, thank you, Lord. None of the police got injured. But he fell into a little piece of water or whatever, and he was still fighting up, even though he was shot. He was still fighting up to fix the gun. He got shot, but he's still fighting up to fix the gun to shoot back at them. But that's when another member of the joint services actually shot him with a 9mm. So he has several different caliber of weapons, that killed him, shot at him and killed him. There should be a postmortem report. Let us see exactly what that says. And based on this photograph that we're seeing, the evidence point in the direction of a police execution, that he was executed with handcuffs on, and we see the evidence right here. right here. So let us move on. But we hope that the family would get justice. If the mother and other relatives are listening, good evening to you guys. Let us touch on this here now. We had on the quarantine. We have gotten reports that that police are escorting police there in the quarantine. They're escorting PPP candidates and supporters, and to help put up flags, to help take down flags, to help pick up flags, and so forth. Mr. Caesar, briefly, what is your take on this here, please?
Well, Mark, first thing, I'm not sure what the if we do have campaign laws in Guyana, but if we do, they're certainly being breached. You shouldn't be using um a government agency, right, to promote and push your party. You shouldn't be campaigning using the Guyana police force. I mean, if you have an event and you have police there for protection, that is fine. But to have them going around putting up flags, I mean, the PPP, and you could see it, they don't play fair at all, because all these resources that they have at hand, the opposition have absolutely nothing, and this is just taking advantage of a loophole in our laws. And this is something that would need to be addressed, to the extent the coalition wins the next election, which I do expect them to win. This is something that needs to be addressed like ASAP.
Absolutely. And again, these things should not be tolerated, but this is what is happening on the quarantine. Not so long ago, there was the police stopped a minister's son, stopped that minister's son's vehicle. And then whenever they do these sort of things, they get into trouble. Whenever they do their job, they're there to protect and serve. But under the corrupt and racist, murderous PPP regime, police are not able to do their job. I believe as of June 1st, or it could be the 2nd, sometime in a couple of days, the joint services will have their chance to go and vote. And I do hope that they do the right thing and not vote for the PPPC. Do not vote for the PPPC. We saw out there somewhere in Lethem, the installed minister of housing, Kroll, handed out a house lot title to a member of the Guyana police force. He's in uniform. The policeman is in uniform, and you hand him out house lot. That is obviously bribery. That is bribery to show that, look, this is what we're doing for police. They don't care about the police. They don't respect the police or anything. But Mr. Crawford, the police van driving around intimidating people, they are now on the quarantine. We saw what the police did to that guy, and that soup drinker Barbara Pilgrim arrested the guy. The guy spent some time in the lockups. He was placed on bail. But the guy who threw that hand, but didn't connect, wasn't charged for assault or anything like that. What is your take on this latest development and the police involvement and intimidating opposition members?
Mark, like I said a few minutes ago, these autonomous bodies are not allowed to operate as they should. The police is being used like a pawn for, slave work and, kitchen cats. And this is a sad situation where instead of being an asset to our community, the police has now been relegated into like the 40-hour work a month workers. Now, mind you, that GPL do have a standing order where nothing should be on the light poles, no stickers, no flags or anything. So we should not be seeing these stupid flags. I don't care if it's a PNC flag or a PPP flag on the electricity poles. So right there, they locked up somebody overnight because they're saying it alleged that her vehicle was seen taking down flags. The flags are not supposed to be up there in the first place. And I did mention that back in 2019 when they were putting up these stupid things all over the place and barrels up there. Those are hazards. And I don't know when the police force is going to get it together, that they are not there to be stooges or cleaning agents for the country, but more so to protect and serve citizens. And that's not the way, what we're seeing. It's an insult to their integrity, but we're not seeing them stand up against a few that are giving the directives. I don't know if Guyanese are mentally lazy or it's a genetic disease that has gone on, that is rearing its head, that people are being manipulated just out of either fear or wanting more money than they're supposed to be earning. I don't know what is the problem with some of our public servants, and it's a shame to see that this is how we have relegated ourselves.
We just don't know what's the situation, Mr. Crawford. 55 minutes after 9 o'clock. Mr. Caesar, this young lady who is a candidate, also the chairwoman for the NDC, the Lancaster Hawkstyle area there on the quarantine. She was arrested, placed on the bench from 5:30 p.m. That is Sunday, 5:30, and she wasn't released until 1 o'clock the next day on $20,000 bail, 100 US dollars bail, no charges, no nothing. She slept on the bench and all manner of things. And when these things happen, especially to a female, it just happens to be an opposition candidate. And opposition candidates are the targets right now. What is your take, sir, on this?
Well, there's a couple of things here, Mark. First, I don't really want to use this, but I have to use it. She's Afro-Guyanese. That's number one. Of course, she's going to spend the night on the bench. Who cares? Right? And, look, we got to remember here, we are not in a functional democracy here. Right? We are dealing with a teething dictatorship. So these things are going to happen. What they're trying to do here is to deter people from coming out. It's to deter people from running for office. You run for office, you're going to be punished. We're going to find a way to punish you. Right? The other guy, what's his name? Dexter Fort. He was on the other night. He slept in jail. So, Mark, this is a common thing with this government. But what I'm hoping is that with all of this that's happening, is that the Guyanese people, their eyes are peeled and their brain is functioning, because I hope they're seeing what's happening, because what's happening to these candidates can easily happen to you. And if you don't change it now, it is going to happen to you. I am saying this. It is going to happen to you. This is not a government, Mark, that is for the people. Okay, this is a dictatorship, man. They want to rule. They want to control everything.
Dictatorship. Mr. Crawford, your take. This young woman, of course, no stranger to you, was forced to sleep on a bench for almost 24 hours, arrested, frivolous allegations, no charges, no nothing, and was placed on 20,000 Guyana dollars bail, 100 US, after she was forced in an inhumane-like conditions to sleep on a bench, a hard bench, for almost 24 hours. No stranger to them at all. No crime committed. Your take, sir.
Mark, I am very, very angry at the Wim police station, because this is an individual who have done so much for that station and who on a daily basis work with that station, because not only is she the chairperson for our NDC and a neighbor of mine, she's also a child welfare officer. This individual is not a flight risk. The complaint made by a soup drinker who lied on national television of being an employee of Skelded Estate to collect $250,000. That individual was never arrested for fraud, but they took a complaint from that individual about this young lady who wears many hats in our society. But
You mean one second? You mean Kendall is not an employee at Gaisuko, and he got how much?
Tyndall.
Tyndall?
He
Wow.
never worked at Skeldon
Shame.
Estate, and he collected
Shame on
severance.
Tyndall. Shame on Tyndall. But continue, sir. Sorry, I just
Right.
had to mention his name. Tyndall, that soup drinker.
Now, when you look at the behavior, first off, as a female, where is she going? She's a known person in society. She's not going anywhere. She's not a flight risk. And the stupid complaint has no basis. They should have gone to the rule book to look at knocking off a flag off a pole. It's not illegal. You know, we're spending millions of dollars to pay some fool to put up a party flag when you're sitting all over the podiums telling the international people what you are trying to get everybody under one umbrella. Put the damn country's flag up there if you want to put a flag. But it's also illegal to put flags on GPL poles. Now, two, a simple thing like that. Take a statement and let the young lady go. You don't even need to put her on bail. It's not something of any serious criminal consequences. But when you have these kitchen cat and these Uncle Toms and the Maybells, they are going to go now to punish somebody because they always have feelings that has been hurt because people call them out for being soup drinkers, and you're going to go and disrespect somebody. This what has been done to Miss Smith is also a human rights violation because you cannot have a female person sitting like that all day long. They have to use the facilities. You know, it's not an air-conditioned place. It's hot. It's sticky. How would you want someone to treat your mother or sister or daughter in that manner for almost 24 hours?
You know, but JR, when these things happen, I would expect that the bulk of supporters on the ground for the coalition should have surrounded Wim Police Station demanding her release. Because at some point in time, these things, sir, got to stop. We can't just sit down and expect it to stop.
I'm getting to that point. Eventually, would this be disrespectful behavior from some of the police force members across this country? I am seeing a total pushback, and it's going to be a very violent pushback, where people are going to get tired of being brutalized by the police force who have been paid by the people's money. You can't take my money and want to disrespect me for unnecessary reasons just because you're sucking up to somebody who is an oppressor, who does not have any respect for human rights, just because someone does not align themselves with your political beliefs. That is not where democracy lies. And we all know democracy comes at a price. And I am saying this country is going to go up in smoke. When I say smoke, people are going to start to disrespect people who have been oppressing them over a period of time. And we're going to see a change after this local election when more oppression are meted out to the people for unknown reasons or for the wrong reasons. We have to stop this disrespect of our nation. After you take off your uniform, you're back to civilian, and they don't realize it. When people start to feel the squeeze and the pushback, they're going to be sorry.
All right, J.R. Crawford there, 3 minutes after 10 o'clock, as we prepare to close off for this evening. 20, well, not as yet. They are definitely going to add another murder charge to that 15-year-old girl who needs a lot of help, who over the years have been, there's sufficient evidence pointing in that direction that she needs help. She was ignored. allegedly by welfare officers. Complaints were ignored. Priya Manikchan ministry did absolutely nothing. The Ministry of Social Services did absolutely nothing to help these young girls in pain, in miseries, and all manner of things. And so 19 murder charges instituted against a 15-year-old girl.
Mark,
Your take on that, please, Mr. Caesar, as you briefly speak on that and wrap up for tonight's program. Mr. Caesar?
Yeah. Mark, that's a real heavy load there for a 15-year-old. It just goes to show that we don't have the proper mechanisms, the proper systems in place for these young people to leverage when help is needed. You know, this, and I would say this poor young lady, yes, she's now left out there to face. I know she's gonna have an attorney, but come on, let's be honest here. How could this young lady sleep at night knowing that she is the one who is accused of 20 deaths? She's carrying the weight of 20 deaths on her shoulder. And also how her family feels. Look, I'm gonna say this. The government of Guyana, the state, has failed this young woman. That's what I'm gonna say about this. The state has failed her. She hasn't failed herself. The state has failed her.
And shame on Priya Manikchan, Irfan Ali, they have failed her. And not only her, they have failed all the young people in Guyana. But tonight, they're keeping wake, spending hundreds of millions of dollars to prove that they care with their crocodile tears. They don't care about these victims and their relatives, and so they just do not care. But let's get the closing remarks from Mr. Crawford. Mr. Crawford?
Mark, in addressing those charges, it is clear that we are a nation who is rushing to judgment, not taking into consideration the shortfalls of certain ministries and certain institutions. The young lady may or may not have certain attitude or stressful behavior. But had we, as an emerging nation where we are having more resources to put to our people, it is clear that the number one resource in this country is totally neglected by those who are currently in charge. Mr. Granger put in place the Ministry of Social Cohesion. It was not a ministry or just a fly-by-night idea by Mr. Granger to have cohesion ministry. It was more than togetherness. It was a ministry that to work on changing people's attitude and bringing up their self-esteem, working on straightening out some faults that we as humans have, and to make us a little bit better than yesterday. This genius of a installed regime got right in there and dismantled social cohesion. Then turn back and you're going to levy on a minor 19 charges of murder. There isn't any evidence to prove that it was murder. The cases will be thrown out because if they were smart people and not being vindictive, they would have instituted manslaughter charges, right? Involuntary manslaughter charges. And you have to wonder, those people who are in the realms of the law, what law were they reading? I am not a law school graduate, but I could see that the charges are wrong. And instead of rushing to charge the young lady, we should have a thorough investigation to make sure that when we go in front of the judge, we are going to be able to put forward a proper argument for who's to be blamed for it. But
Mr.
the
Crawford,
blame itself, Mark.
Shut down. Let me just say, as it pertains to that, is when the young lady appeared in court, the prosecutor, the police asked for 1 month more. They said that they have not finished with their investigations. So if you're not finished with your investigations, then
Why
why the
charge the
hell
people?
did the PPP, DPP charge the young woman? And the police have said to the magistrate, our investigations is still ongoing. We're not done with our investigations. I don't know. But quickly, let's
Mark,
wrap up, please, Mr.
yes,
Crawford.
I understand. I mean, I hate to be long-winded, but this is
Yeah,
something that's important for
but we
because
got to go there. Well, go ahead.
we're having other institutions, and I was told Liliendal has a situation where after hours, kids are unsupervised and are running amok, and people are outside of the morals of society because there's no proper guidance and whatever there. But coming back to this legal aspect of the Madia situation, you're asking for a month. The fire department has not taken the time to investigate the fire properly. Evidence were not properly secured, but you're ready to drag this young lady in front of the courts, albeit a minor, regardless of what people might say about her personally. When you're going to do these things, you have to be very careful how you operate. But we are not honest enough as a government in authority to take the blame for this this situation and what may have led the young lady, if she was indeed the perpetrator, to that mental state of mind, knowing fully well that the place is locked and she or would have been a victim or may be a victim. There's so many scenarios, but because of, I think, of who the kids or what their ethnicity were, no one cared about those people. And that is what the Armenian community must look, and the elders must need to talk to their followers. Look at how they're being treated and how they're regarded as citizens of this country, the first citizens, albeit.
Let's hope that that is the case.
So you
indeed.
see what it is about.
Yeah, thank you so much, gentlemen, and thanks to all our listeners as well. And let me just remind our listeners that when Irfan Ali, 19 fraud charges, they rushed to the court. They didn't want those fraud charges to be brought. They didn't want Irfan to be exposed. And then as soon as they got installed, the very DPP withdrew all of the 19 charges against Irfan Ali. But 19 murder charges were swiftly instituted against a 15-year-old girl. And yet when she turned up in front of the magistrate was told by the police that they need a month more, 1 month more. Guess why? Not to go play bingo or to eat at Burger King or something like that. 1 month more because they're still investigating the matter. If you're still investigating the matter, I don't know, something is wrong with that.
He should have dismissed all those charges instantly.
Gentlemen, thank you both so much. We can go on and on and on to talk about more things, but let's save it for maybe when you guys come back Friday night. Thank you both so much. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Good night. Good night, everyone.
All right, J.R. Crawford there and Caesar. Like I've said, we can go on and talk. But let's leave you tonight by saying that there's sufficient evidence pointing in the direction of murder, extrajudicial killing by members of the joint services. And the family members and other very smart people have concluded that this guy, Neon, was murdered by members of the joint services. And as we close off for the wake, again, let me reiterate that our sympathies and, of course, our condolences to the family members of those 20 persons who have lost their loved ones. And those who are recovering, we wish them a speedy recovery. We also want to point out that the PPP regime, the installed regime, and Of course, included in that is Priya Manik-Chan, who's the Minister of Health, Minister of Education, sorry. They're playing politics with these people. They're using these folks as political pawns, as tools. That is what they're doing. And while they're doing that, they're making hundreds of millions of dollars from the distress of these individuals. Jerry Govaya must come forward to say whether he has donated the Duke Lodge for free, or whether he's flying these relatives and friends and his friends them in and out of Madhya and other places, whether that's being done pro bono, whether it's being done for free. Jerry Govaya or someone in the regime should come out and say whether these things are for free. Or if they're not for free, of course, the perception out there is that Jerry Govaya and members of this installed PPP regime, they're profiting big time from the distress of citizens. And to that young girl, Daniels, who lost her life, her battle today, condolences on behalf of all of us here at 107.1 FM, including all of you who are listening. It's a sad thing that the young lady, the young girl, lost her life, lost the battle. She couldn't make it. And I guess that young lady and the 19 others who have lost their lives are turning wherever they are right now and pointing their fingers in the direction of the installed PPP regime. They must be so unhappy that a hypocrite like Priya Manik-Chan and a hypocrite like Irfan Ali and Jagdev and all these vagabonds are walking around with crocodile tears and a wake and all these things. And when they were alive, nobody cared about them. Priya didn't even turn to look in their direction. Irfan Ali didn't even know they existed, didn't care about the conditions under which they lived. When they were alive, you never cared. You never wanted to give a cent on the massive corruption with MDC and the REO and all these vagabonds, PPP vagabonds in Madhya, who just didn't give a damn about those kids. And now you want us to believe that you care and that instead of spending $5 million for a proper place for the young girls to bathe, you didn't do that, Priya. You didn't do that, Irfan. You didn't care about those people, Jerry Govaya, or any one of you, Dharam Lal, or any one of you. But suddenly, you guys care about them. You didn't want to spend $5 million, but now you want to spend $500 million to do some serious political damage control, because that's what it's about, political damage control. They don't give a damn about those young people or their loved ones. And this is all settled and done in about a week's time for the PPP. They will move on to something else because they've already finished using these people. They will go to look to use some other set of people. Stand strong, guys. Stand strong. And in this upcoming local government elections, vote against the PPP. They're not for you and they're not with you. They're unpatriotic. Tomorrow midday, we'll carry the live ruling. I dare say this. I don't even know why we would even waste our time to carry it. Mark my word. Acting Chief Justice, if I'm wrong, I'll stay on 3 hours with you guys tomorrow night. 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock, the Acting Chief Justice, Roxanne Wilshire, will rule against the coalition again. I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm wrong, I'll stay on with you guys for close to 3 hours tomorrow, if I'm wrong. See you at midday tomorrow with that live broadcast from the High Court of Guyana, where Roxanne Wilshire, the Acting Chief Justice, will rule against the coalition. Nothing new, huh? All right. Love you guys. Continue to pray for Guyana. See you. Happy 52nd anniversary to President David Arthur Granger and his beautiful wife, First Lady Sandra Granger. 52 years they've been married. 52 years. See you guys. Bye-bye.
So, this is attorney Shellen Washington, owner and founder of the Washington law firm located at 455 Utica Avenue in Brooklyn, New York. We're specialized in medical malpractice, personal injuries, matrimonial law, and landlord and tenant. If you're in need of legal representation, please give us a call today. The number to call is 718-877-3100. Consultation is free at no cost to you. So call us today to see if we can be of any assistance to your legal needs. Again, the phone number to call us is 718-877-3100.
This is the creek that the dorms children used to use. Now that the dorms is no longer functioning, but this is the creek the children normally come and bathe. This is the water here, they bathe here, they have another one there, they have to dip the water and come here to bathe. Under the APNU administration, we had bathroom here. This is the creek that the dorms children used to use. Now that the dorms is no longer functioning, but this is the creek the children normally come and bathe. This is the water here, they bathe here, they have another one there, they have to dip the water and come here to bathe. Under the APNU administration, we had bathroom here. Now, the one Guyana government so care for the Amerindians, we have a minister visiting here very often in Madia, not in the community of the
Yeah, they got cheering inside, boy. Yeah, they got cheering inside, boy. They got cheering in the back room. They got cheering inside. No, inside. Oh, God. Hey, you ain't no sledge in there for broke the wall? Okay, dog. I don't deal with that. The current off. The current on the off. The current off. Okay, dog. Wait. Turn on the water, man. Boy, what y'all doing, boy? What? This what, boy? This fucking what? Boy, when you really, boy, this what, boy? They got churn in the same fucking room, boy. Boy. When you want these ass that don't fucking make no sense. What, boy? Cut off the tip, buddy. Cut out the fucking tip. Are you put down on your gas first? I'm going there. Put down on your fucking gas first. I'm going there, buddy. Anybody in there? Anybody in there? No. Broke the fucking wall, boy.
From this fucking thing, man. I am coming back here, man. Walk. Come, boy, come. Run there.
Go broke right there.
Your body, I think, don't.
No, don't worry about the wall.
Broke this thing, my son, boy.
Those guys are the real heroes. Not Priya Manikchan, not Irfan Ali, not Jerry Govaya, not Jagdeo, not Dharamlal, not Robeson Ben. They're not heroes. They're responsible for those young ladies, those young girls, that little boy that died. Did you see the amount of children in that room crying? They perished. Shame on Priya Manikchan. How could these people sleep at nights? I hope they watched that video, something that they're responsible for. How could they sleep at nights? Look at those little kids begging. Look at those guys out there, those heroes who risked their lives to save those kids' lives. They saved a lot of them. Had it not been for those heroes on the ground, nobody cares about them. You think Priya care about them? You think Irfan cares about them? Dharamlal and these people, you think they care about those heroes who saved about 30-something, nearly 40 of those kids who were trapped in there, in that locked building? The house mother couldn't find a key. Nobody could find the keys. But those guys are the heroes. Is anybody taking them to dinner? Is anybody taking photos with them? Is Priya taking them to dinner? Is Irfan taking photos with them? But no, nobody's going to talk about those heroes who saved. Had it not been for those guys, had it not been for them, a lot of these young kids who survived would not have been here today. The regime, they don't care about those guys. They don't give a damn about them. Look, I want to go back to this here, and I say this because, it breaks my heart to know that they were screaming like that. Nobody cares about those heroes. Nobody cares about them. But yet, Jerry Govaya wants to be on TV to say, oh, all the good work that he's doing. Sorry, I got to hold my tongue back, right? Where was Jerry Govaya? And those heroes, those guys, imagine a fire service doesn't have a sledgehammer to break the wall, to just break that wall. That was a decision that should have been made instantly by the fire service, not those heroes, not those guys. But nobody cares about them. The PPP regime, they don't care about those guys. They care about Jerry Govaya and Irfan and Priya and her crocodile tears. That's what they care about. Let's go back to that video. I want to show it so that Priya, they can get the message. Look at those kids. It breaks my heart. Remember, I speak from personal experience. So this is nothing callous on my part or me being insensitive. I speak from personal experience. Personal experience. To watch those kids crying and yelling for help. And there's no help. There was no Priya, there was no Irfan Ali, there was no Jerry Govaya. No one from the regime who caused this problem. Because if these kids had gotten help when they needed help the most, this would not have happened.
Yeah, they got cheering inside, boy. Yeah, they got cheering inside, boy. They got cheering in the back room. They get churning inside. No, north inside. Oh, God. Hey, I'm going to sledge in there for broke the wall. Okay, dog. I don't deal with that. The current off. The current on the off. The current off. Okay, dog. Wait. Going on the water, man. But what y'all doing, boy? What? This what, boy? This fucking what? Why when it really? Why this what, boy? They got churn in the same fucking room, boy. When you want these ass that don't fucking make no sense. Water, boy.
Anybody in there?
Broke the wall. Broke the fucking wall, boy.
Broke this fucking thing, man. I am coming back here, boy. Walk. Come, boy, come. Run there.
Oh, broke right there.
Your body, I think,
No, don't worry,
broke this thing, boy.
Nobody cares about those heroes, those ordinary citizens who risked their lives, and they saved dozens of young people in that building. And for the firefighters, even though they have not much tools, we can't blame them. You got to blame Robeson Ben and his ministry and those corrupt individuals there. Those are the people you got to blame. I hope Priya Manikchan and Irfan Ali and Jack Deere and all these guys saw those kids and heard them crying to get out of there. Many of them perished. Shame on Priya Manikchan. How could she live knowing that she didn't do anything? Or Irfan Ali, how could they live knowing that they haven't done anything for those kids? But now they're running around spending hundreds of millions of dollars pretending that they care. They don't care. I'm out of here, guys. See you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time. God bless you all. Pray for our country. Pray for our country. Dark days are ahead. Who knows what we'll wake up tomorrow morning and hear, or the next morning, or the next day. Pray for our country. Demonic forces are in control. Got to overcome that.